All right, we're back.
Yes, we are.
All right, go to CoachTube, find us on there. A lot of free resources. Put your questions in the comments below. We will address them and share with your friends. We should come up with a contest one day.
Yes. I like contests. Contests are always I'm always
Yeah,
I always do this with my athletes and I bribe them with candy. We do competitions for candy and it's like what kids will do for candy is remarkable.
it's
Especially
probably. Is it the same as what adult employees will do for a t-shirt and a pizza party?
yeah, similar. Very similar.
Work 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um I
How about
got
this?
a kid,
Do a
but
do a here, do a come up with a contest idea, put it in the comments, do voting for likes, best contest idea that can be done.
oh, I like the contest. This is like Inception. It's the contest for the contest.
Yeah, yeah,
Very good. See, this is why
gotta
you're
get it
a
right.
marketing guy here.
Yeah, big marketing guy. Yeah, uh,
Yeah.
convincing 18-year-olds to spend $200,000 on getting coached by me over 4 years. So,
Hey, biggest group you've ever had, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All
It's not
right, so
$1,000, guys, to go to Elmhurst. It's not.
it's not even close.
Not even
Like,
close. Okay,
uh,
let's clarify that because we don't want
someone's
anyone getting scared away here.
yeah. So Gabe, when you go ahead and clip this out and post it on your social media to be like, Steve and the Elmer's coach says it, I'm calling BS right now. Because that's what I would do. All
Yeah.
right. Today, we're going to talk about you got some football guys, which is apparently a pretty popular American sport. Um, and we're gonna hear about football. So can you kind of tell us what they came to you for, or kind of what you're doing with them, um and then your kind of your view on it? I'm because that's a tricky wicket to kind of work through with. It's in season. So if you're listening to this in the year 2029, we are October 2024. So this is football season. So you're in season. So I'm super curious to know like what are they attempting to do, and how are you are the most constrained football coach at the moment. So how are you handling that?
All right. So I got this kid came to me. His parents came to me for flat out speed training. He's got college combine days coming up at the end of the season, at the end of this year. So we're in October right now. December, like mid-December is the first one, and they got to get his combine numbers down. Speed.
Um,
So not any of the other ones aside from or just the 40, 5 10 5, broad jump and vert. So those are the four tests that are the most important to them. My
okay.
um so we did some assessments on the kid and before we even started, I let's backtrack. Before we even started, I told the parents that I need like a complete rundown of everything that happens. I need the breakdown of like what is he doing for his lifts, what are they doing in practices, when do they practice, what are their intense days, what are their high days, low days, recovery days, all of that stuff to find out where this is going to fit in. I think that um, we're in this world of like speed is king, and I don't necessarily think that that is like the end all be all. I think speed for certain players is king, but power is more important for a lot of other players, especially at this level. I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of at the high school level, a lot of quarterbacks can't even like utilize receivers that are fast because they just can't get the ball there, accurate.
Yeah.
So he's a tight end and defensive end. So in
Okay.
game situations, doesn't doesn't go past like a flat out. He's never flat out in a game situation
Yeah.
unless he's like gets a whatever screen pass or a little dump to the in the flat or in the whatever. He gets a pass and goes out. or he's chasing down a quarterback from, rushing.
Yeah, which even then, are you at
Yeah, like you're never,
hitting full speed?
you're always changing direction, you're always moving. It's more agility than anything. So it's
Yeah.
that change of direction that he really needs to work on. But um, so we got all that information, we laid it all out, and we said, okay, we can apply some speed work here, a little bit of change to his strength training program, really focus on velocity based lifting right now, because this in season stuff, trying to stay off of a lot of eccentric loading, don't want him at all sore, right? So a lot of the work is just flat out concentric work. The minimal stuff that we're doing, loading isometrically and eccentrically, is from this video that I saw that we took during a fly 10. So just videoed the back end of his 40, looking from 30 to 40 meters or 30 to 40 yards, and seeing where the low hanging fruit was for this
Mhm.
guy. So we built in some general overcoming ISOs or some isometric work, some general eccentric loading, like altitude drops and building into some depth jumps and some plyometrics, just so that we can really focus on he's still going to get the necessary outputs from the lifting. And I think like a broad jump is just, I'm not really concerned that if we do enough velocity based barbell work, his broad jump will increase with
Yeah.
aspects. Right? There's no eccentric work there. There's no really need for focusing on RSI there.
Yeah.
Um, so let me show
Yeah.
you the video, and you give me your thoughts. I'll talk you through what I think is going on. But uh,
Can I ask a dumb track coach question?
yeah.
Um, Vertical jump, how does a combine test that? And is it just a straight, is it one vertical? It's not a repetitive vertical, is it?
I think no, there's no like four jump. There's
Okay.
so each school does it differently from my understanding.
Okay.
In most of the time it's the thing that you slap.
Yeah, yeah.
So they'll do a flat out jump test, no step, and then
Okay.
some of the schools will add in like a three step. So like
Okay.
combine, NFL combine, just a flat max vert. But then you look at NBA combine, you do a running jump. This kid's running
Oh,
jump is like off the charts. He's a really
yeah.
good. He's a basketball and volleyball player as well.
Oh, nice.
So he's a three sport athlete, but he's never run track. Um,
Hmm.
so just
Is that
his
volleyball season?
what?
Is that volleyball season?
Yeah.
Okay.
So his running mechanics. I was surprised. He's a tall kid, 6'7". I was
Yeah.
very surprised. His running mechanics aren't as bad as I thought they would have been for a basketball, volleyball, football guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like it's just different, right? These guys are
Yeah. Yeah.
way more rotation. There's a lot of like heavy foot. And I think the way he's running is just from his um underdeveloped strength for now.
Okay.
I think he is, for how big he is, he's not as strong as he should be.
Okay.
And partly because maybe like when we were doing some assessments on how he's just general squatting and deadlifting, you could see that there's like a need for, he would always go like ass to grass. I'm like, I don't think at 6'7" you really need to do that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Is
rate,
that a
you
is that
know.
a culture? Is that a football culture thing?
Well, I don't know. I don't spend enough time in their weight room to listen to what their strength conditioning coaches say and whatnot. But I do think that there's a component of it that we've kind of, as a culture in high school in general, we've gone so far into this. Oh, you got us full depth squats all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we are missing the boat. We used to have kids that were like, "Oh, I squat 400 pounds, but they barely go parallel." That was
Yeah. Yeah.
it was just to move as much heavy weight as you can, and then we won't ask the grass, but we forget that we could do both. We can have, you know.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Both can exist?
So part of me told, some modifications on
Okay.
his on his lifting, where if he's doing trap bar deadlifts, I want him to do them from like the like an elevated position, because he's already
Yeah.
so tall. Like you don't need
Yeah. Yeah.
position, especially now, like in season. Like, hey, let's just work from angles that we're going to be using in season. Off season, yeah, let's work through big ranges of motion, as big as we can get.
Yeah.
So we'll
Okay.
change up his squatting to box squatting now. Uh,
Yeah.
and not on a box. Like I don't really like when we sit down on a box, but we use the pins on the sides. So that's
Yeah.
with the barbell. It's a
Kiss
little,
and go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh yeah. So or like even myometric. I was thinking towards playoff season, we can even do the myometric squat where he just has the bar and the pins and we're only working concentric and like no eccentric loading at all. Because again,
Yeah.
he's getting so much eccentric loading. If he's run blocking 20 what's it called, 20 plays a game, he's like
Yeah.
blocking. So when you
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
another 180 200 pound edge rusher coming in, like that's enough. I don't load him up. He's,
You're
whatever.
you're good, man. You're fine.
Yeah.
Oh,
All
okay.
right, so let me show you this video and you tell me if my analysis is accurate or what I can look at.
I'll do my best, but I'm also on a phone today because I blocked my behavior by leaving my computer at home at work. It's like, all right, we're not bringing work home today. And last night I was like, oh man, I really want to work.
What I
But
needed.
yeah, turns out I need my computer.
All right, can you see that okay then?
Yeah, I can see good.
Cool.
Well,
All
sorry,
right. So
everyone.
I'll just let you watch it at slow speed. Let's go back a little bit.
I know that fence.
Yeah, it's a good fence.
This is surprisingly okay.
Right? We do six
Yeah,
225.
yeah.
Go back
Wow.
to it.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, my first thought is he's a lot more active than I thought he would be.
yeah. So
Um,
here's a couple things that I was noticing. Like if you watch it, if we just look at it at midfoot, at mid stance,
yeah,
so we'll just wait for this right foot to come down on mid stance. Like, there is a little bit of squatted position. I think that's generally just because of his sports, right?
right.
No, so for this particular kid, he's a basketball, football, volleyball player. Nothing is ever out of a flat out. So part of me is like, do we focus on like, can he push into a vertical position better to get that align better? But I don't think it's a necessity, because what I think would happen is if you watch how he casts his foot out, it's just there's no casting, right? It's just drop.
Yeah, yeah,
So on initial strike, there's no real casting of the foot. It kind of goes from, in this position, just straight down.
yeah. I mean, that's a vertical shin.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking for.
All right. But but there's not as much rotation as I'd like, right? So I'd want to see
Okay.
rotation in the knee, the
Yeah,
lower shank start to extend forward a little bit because he's pulling through the hip. He's not really pulling through the hip, it just kind of falls, right?
right, right.
So there's no this here kind of, he just doesn't have enough, I think, extension at the hip on the backside to create enough rotation for that to come through.
Yeah, I
Enough.
think my first thought was like the guy's got to be super tight in his hips.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, nature of the sport. You stand like that in basketball, you stand like that in volleyball, you are in a 3 point in football, like you're gonna have short hips.
Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing that I think I know now, the one of the biggest things that you could tell is like just no ability to load eccentrically in his calves. Like that, just there's weakness
Yeah.
here. I've talked to his dad, and he does have something going on. He's complaining about like some tightness in his right ankle. And
Yeah.
it when I slow it down. Um, uh so there's like some like nothing major, but there's some like bumps and bruises. There's something going on in his knee and ankle. Um,
Mhm.
and he
Both on the right.
on the right side. Now, if you watch his left, so you see on contact, right? Initial strike, you see a little bit of give, and then there's
Oh. Yep.
an angle, right? So you
Yeah.
see an angle change. So the ankle here seems to be a little bit more mobile than when you see the right side.
Yeah.
And he'll toe off, and this is just over pushing. Like he's just over pushing on this side. And I think that's just because there was so much give in the foot. Like he just
Yeah.
no stiffness in the ankle of the foot. Doesn't have he doesn't
Yeah.
know how to load that, right? He kind of flat
I,
out
I
here.
also, I also think there's no incentive in football to not drive your hips forward. Like everything is forward, not up.
Yeah.
As you think about how they're taught, like so a tight end, D end is never should probably is probably told to never stand up unless you're gonna receive a ball.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd assume, right? Because they have to change direction so much.
Yeah.
No
So
point
there's
this guy needing to go flat out. So he has to change directions and be in that kind of seated position to move laterally faster. So
so I'm
you
guessing that yeah, that flat hip and like over pushing is probably like, yeah, my job is to move forward, not up. Like why would I leave the ground? That's gonna get me what's the word they use where you get flipped around? Upended?
yeah, I'm not.
Bottom? I don't know what they say. I don't
Yeah.
think you can do it anymore in football. So um but
Yeah.
yeah, I think if you're a football player who's taught over and over and over, drive your hips forward, forward, forward,
Yeah.
the concept of vertical and not over pushing probably doesn't exist. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard of a football coach who would be like who would say you've over pushed, you know?
Yeah. So
So
now here's the comparison though.
yeah, yeah.
Watch this toe off on
Mhm.
the left side. Although, we know that there is either some weakness or tightness. There's something going on that he can't fully access the hip, right?
Yeah. Because
Also
he's pretty
notice, yeah, like this is a Joel Smith always talks about the hand, and you could see
yeah.
like how muscular driven this guy is just from how tight he's gripped through here. Whereas you watch
Yeah.
like Noah Lyles when Noah Lyles was really young, probably this age, 16, 17 years old, he was super loose and whippy through the hand. So
Yeah.
like an elastic driven guy, you could tell he's more muscular driven guy.
Yeah.
On contact here, right? You see just inability to control that. And
Yeah.
then as he transfers over the foot, there's not a shin angle drop, right? It's the heel that starts to elevate.
Hmm.
At toe off, right? So right here, you see that rotation?
Oh, yeah.
So we'll watch it in full speed. At toe off, his right foot like internally rotates, like swings to the midline.
Yeah, yeah. So there's like a whip action, like a
Yeah.
yep.
So it's funny because we were talking about this that Altus had just posted about this, but so I asked his dad, has he had knee or ankle issues? And his dad he was telling me that over the course of the last few years, he's been complaining about like tightness in his ankle. He got a contact, like helmet contact on the knee, and his knee is like there's
Ooh.
numbness still there from a few years ago.
Oh my.
Yeah, so clearly, like he's not accessing that, or maybe that he's not getting. There's some limitation in that like tib fib area, not allowing him to like smoothly transfer over. And you see that little flick right there.
Yeah.
You can see it on the other one here, little flick, and he pushes straight. And this is where you can see how he pushes. He doesn't get to that big toe at all.
Right, right. I was to say, is his big toe, what's his big toe even like?
Yeah.
Have you looked at it?
No, I haven't.
Because
Yeah, so this is our second week training. So this is just like
oh
the last week of spending time. So you watch him on toe off here, and there it is. Like you see it's
yeah.
toe and can't get to the big toe at all.
Yep. Yep.
So is there opportunity, or is there a necessity for like some ankle mobilization, some knee? Do we focus on the knee? Excuse me. What am I trying to say here? Do we try and create the necessary like rotation that happens in the tib fib, like allow that to be a little bit more uh mobile?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you in season, do you want to free up degrees of motion?
Yeah, and that's where
You know?
I like his upright mechanics. I don't want to touch his like the cyclical nature of his legs. Just they're not in the right positions.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm looking at it as a track perspective. Like, how am I going to get this guy faster? The thing
Yeah.
that if we changes things, he's going to be in a position where when we're training, he's going to be here, right here. If we look at the angle of his hip and knee, if he starts casting out, his hamstring's not going to be able to handle that. If
Right,
there's
right.
sort of like, if we create any sort of increased limb velocity at the hip, is his hamstring even strong enough yet to hold that? And,
Right.
or is it the other way around? Do we have to start to do that so his hamstring can start to develop a little bit more?
A little bit of a chicken and egg scenario.
Right.
Yeah. I also see like a decent amount of lordosis
Yeah.
um in that low back, which to me is one, he's a little squatty, but he's also probably, he doesn't have space in the front side of his hip
Yeah.
to finish pushing like right there. That's a good spot, like where you can see that spine is really lordotic.
Yep.
Um,
I bet you if I got rid of his arm, so there's two things I want to do. I want to film him from the back to see if there's any sort of like, how there that undulation, oscillation of the hip. So at toe off, is his hip dropping or is his hip raising up? The
yeah,
thing that I can't tell in the side view. So I got to film him from the back. And,
yeah,
and if I got rid of his arms, I bet you he would all of these mechanics down low would change because it seems as if he's just driving so much of this from his arms.
yeah, yeah,
It's like,
yeah. Um, I mean, how free it looks like he moves pretty well in his upper body.
yeah,
It's his like T-spine, thoracic spine, and scaps. Do they move pretty well? Is
again,
he bound up
having
there?
only worked with him for this like last couple weeks, he is more rolled shouldered. Like, he's in that rolled shouldered position. So
Yeah,
my assumption is going to be tight through that pack,
yeah,
probably underdeveloped back. So we're doing, and just from posturally, I looked at him like, well, for all his numbers, like his bench press numbers and all that stuff, he just needs to develop his back way more.
yeah,
So if
sure.
you just develop his back, I think that's an easy way to just start to increase some of those metrics. Single arm row,
Yeah,
overhead holds, all of that kind of stuff, I think will help him.
yeah, yeah,
Now there's
yeah,
a lot of, again, I got to film from the back, but I don't think because he doesn't have, I'll assume an assumption for your answer and say, or for your question, say that the answer is going to be no. He's going to be limited in thoracic extension. I don't think he'll be limited in thoracic rotation, but
yeah.
thoracic extension, especially if when he sprints, I think he's going into this lordosis because he's over pushing
Okay.
the backside because he doesn't have any stiffness in that ankle. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
so you see, like, right, so even there, like, this is just he's losing so much power that he has to constantly push more this way.
yeah. Because I mean, hip extension actually looks pretty good.
Yeah. But if we're talking track wise and
Yeah,
draw a line from like the top of his head to where the knee should be, right?
yeah,
This angle seems pretty aggressive,
yeah,
like
yeah,
right here. I would assume that, we could probably measure that with the slots. This is like a perfect slots on the fence. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
this extension is good, but is it extension from the hip or is it extension from the back? Right. Or do we,
Yeah.
because this knee is fully extended, kind of tells you that he's over pushing. Uh,
Yeah.
I would like to see a little bit more in this position, the knee being a little bit more flexed. So
Yeah.
the hip being forward a couple degrees,
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than getting that extension in that lower back. Um,
Yeah. And after we just shredded this kid, at the end of the day, I was surprised at how good he looked.
yeah, me too. I was like, I was expecting way more rotation. I was expecting this, honestly, that right foot, you see it in basketball players all the time.
Mhm.
Right? It lands and then that whipping action happens all the time. And a lot of
Yeah.
times, like they have poor ankle strength, they don't know how to use it, and um, and I think that in that with him in general, it just looks good. And there's no crossover gate. I was actually very
Yeah.
surprised that he's pretty even on both sides. So
Yeah.
aside from he'll veer a little bit to the right because that right foot just isn't producing power like the left foot is.
Yeah.
So I think if you got rid of his arms, he would push a little bit more from one side to the other. But I also think that the position he plays is going to be, that also is an indicator of how he's going to move back and forth.
Which do you know which side of the line he plays on? I would assume the right.
Yeah, that's what I strong side. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I'm
So
guessing. Does he receive as a tight end like pretty regularly?
very infrequently.
Okay.
They use him as a more of a run blocker than a
Okay.
a receiver. And then if he's playing both ways, he's usually rushing from the edge or from
Okay.
the strong side as well, I think.
Okay.
Which to me is like, okay, if you can get this is where I'm thinking if he's rushing from the right side,
Hmm.
then on defense, he's naturally already gonna kind of forcefully go into more ankle flexion on that left leg to get the edge you need. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
right side, he's gonna push. So I bet you if you put him on the left side, he would he just wouldn't be able to do it as effectively because he wouldn't be able to get that right foot in the with the shin angles you'd need to be able to penetrate and cut the corner, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
So um yeah, that's one of the things. So what I was planning on doing with him was first and foremost giving him some sort of, a small dose of calf work during his like warm-ups.
Yeah.
So I
That's
just
yeah, that's so tough to do in season.
well,
I
that's
just
this
man.
is what I told him. I said,
Yeah.
you have your entire warm-up. You guys do all the skips and all that stuff for your warm-up and everything. Just go off to the side and just start with some pogos.
Okay.
Some simple pogos. You don't got to do it.
Yeah.
Just four directions. You go 10
Yeah.
yards forward, 10 yards backwards, 10 yards side to side. And then
Yeah.
build into longer durations. Then we could build into single leg. So at least he's getting a little bit of reactive, say like some extensive plyos before he starts his game as a
Yeah.
partner, right?
Yeah.
Then so we added that stuff in to start to give him a little bit of reactive strength. And I told him ideally if you could do it barefoot, that'd be great. But it's tough to do that when you're blending it into the wood.
Yeah. Do kids still like tape the crap out of their shoes and ankles and stuff before?
I haven't gotten into that stuff yet. So I don't
Okay.
luckily his dad is an athletic trainer. So I've had conversations with his dad and he has good insights and we align on a lot of things on how these kids should be managing injuries.
Mhm.
But I think that there's that culture component that is very difficult to break. So I watch him at practice a little bit because they practice at the same time as us,
Mhm.
uh, but I can't tell.
Yeah, because I remember people taping their shoes, taping their cleats for what felt like no reason.
Yeah, I think sometimes like when you see it all the way up the ankle, I don't get it. But I think sometimes they just wrap it around the laces. So
Yeah.
shoes don't come untied.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, tying
I
your
don't know.
shoes is
I
tough.
don't-
You're
yeah.
in high school.
Haven't played sports, so not 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
thinking, hey, that's a little like microdose that stuff in, and he'll come and train with me on Mondays, which is our his like lighter days.
Mhm.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays are his full speed game day, or like like when they work on what they're going to do for the week and whatnot.
Mhm.
And then Thursday is like pregame day, prep for the game on Friday.
Walk through stuff. Yeah.
And then Fridays are the games. And I told him on Fridays is your opportunity to get a little bit more speed into. So Mondays we'll work on flat out power work.
Okay.
So an example is we did some squats at like a heavy loaded power. So we were moving the barbell right around like 1 meter per second. It's heavy weight,
Yeah.
moving it, and we're doing limited range of motion. So he's getting just above parallel. So not quite like a half
Okay.
squat, not quite, you know, but again,
Yeah.
ins, and we're driving up looking for 1 meter per second.
Okay.
Which in general I think is going to be his benefit, because he's going to have to get that meter per second without the range of a full squat. So now we're looking at like really increasing the time to his peak velocity. You know, the Ralph Ohm thing of just TPV, looking at
Yeah.
peak velocity. So limiting his range and requiring him to do it at accelerating a lot faster. And I don't,
Probably
sorry, go
this,
ahead.
this probably also pretty close to the position he's going to hit in a broad jump and vert jump.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You might go a little. Do you ever coach that? Like, how low do you go?
I let
Like,
them, I let
figure it
them
out.
do that. Yeah. You know,
Because it,
we play games to test
yeah.
it out.
Okay.
So we'll do squat as low as you can, see how high you can jump.
Oh,
No,
nice.
no knees jumping, no hips, like just stuff to have them think about, wait, where am I doing? No arms, or keep your arms down the whole time, keep your arms up the whole time. Stuff like that that requires them to change the range of motion in their hips and knees and see.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, so, and then eventually they kind of fall into their normal pattern and they see which one's the best strategy for them.
God, that's the bell I've been ringing all week. Is there's a model,
Yeah.
there's a model that you have, but there's bandwidth around it, and like the best possible thing an athlete can do is explore explore all the range of that bandwidth in practice, not at meets
Yeah.
or in games, but like explore the whole bandwidth, and then that just helps you get better in your specific one,
Yeah.
and I've been hammering that all week, and I think my team doesn't listen to me much about it, but I also say it with this face, so can't take it seriously.
Oh, geez.
um,
Um,
okay, so power on Monday, squatting about a meter a
we'll
second.
do like heavy contrast work. So do the heavy loaded stuff, meter per second, and then we find the weight that works for him. And then, eventually my goal is to try and get this kid up to as much as we can lift at meter per second. Then moving on to contrast it with a light loaded squat jump.
Okay.
And this is what we just did on Monday. This is not this, it's not going to be the same every week, but the same kind of contrast. And and then an unloaded like max box jump or max vertical jump, and focusing purely on the concentric portion of it.
How are
The
you loading your squat jump?
barbell in the back.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we test the velocity there. So anything above, like the weight they should be able to move it above 1.5 meters per second.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you gonna load that too and see how heavy you can go at 1.5 plus?
I keep it at 50% of their squat. And that's
Okay.
what I found is a good number. They're right around 50% of their squat. They can keep that speed. And then the numbers will progressively go up.
Yeah, in concurrence with one another.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Have you seen anybody hit like 50% of your like their squat keeps going up, their jump squat, weighted jump squat keeps going up, and then there is a barbell jump squat that they can't go 1.5 meters per second.
No, because we like so if we were doing this is 50% of the heavy loaded power barbell. So not
The
50.
barbell they just lifted.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so if we're looking at like, okay, this kid's at 225 for this like box squat, he'll go to, about like, well, 115 for his loaded jump.
As I say, you picked a tough number to split in two.
uh
Yeah.
yeah, 12 point, uh,
112.5 pounds.
12.5.
Yeah.
But so like these kids aren't strong enough where
Yeah,
it's going to matter because they can't move a heavy barbell fast enough for their light load to be a limiting factor.
sure. Okay.
Um, they've gotten to, and if we did it like based off of our 3RM or our predicted 1RM, yeah, I could see that happening.
Okay.
But I mean, there's nowhere near it. I've done it a bunch and I haven't even gotten close.
Okay. Wow. I mean, that's interesting. I'd be
Yeah.
podcast for another day, but like what cohort could find that number?
Yeah.
Can Olympic lifters probably, maybe not.
And I feel
Who,
like honestly, sorry to cut you off, but I think that this is just like it was just a number that I picked arbitrary because I know that it's an easy number to do math with, and it's an easy number that I know that they can move very quickly.
yeah, I think that's a fascinating exploration of like as raw power goes up, it's and I fought against this, but maybe this is an argument for it. But like, just the heavier your squat is, the more you can do. The higher you can jump or the faster you can move. And that's never been my contention, but that's maybe a good argument for that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. I keep interrupting. So we go squat, we go jump squat, we go box jump.
Yeah, and then box. So that's like what we did on Monday. We also did the same kind of contrast with a sled, heavy sled, light sled, do 15 meters of a heavy sled, 15 meters of a light sled, and then all out 30.
Okay.
And the idea, not quite all out, 95% on a 30, because I want him specifically to work on his mechanics. How is he
Yeah.
coming off the ground? Where are we projecting? What does it feel like? Like what kind of pressure are you applying in the foot? Is it even? Is it to one side, to the other side? So all these little things that I want him to start to feel. And we talk about that during the sled pushes as well. So we can slow the speed down. So
Sure.
those are the two contrast circuits that we did on Monday. And then just a set of heavy calf raises. Eventually building it to some like eccentric work on the calf raises, maybe like drop
Uh,
calf raise or something like that.
just because I love the details. Are you doing that on like the hack squat, or are you doing barbell, or
Yeah, I do it on the hack squat, just easier.
dude, I love your hack squat,
The
man.
leverage squat, sorry. Yeah, hack squat
Is that
leverage.
what it is?
Yeah,
Leverage
yeah,
squat.
that's what
Yeah.
they call that model.
Okay.
Yes,
I use it all the time.
you're one of the few.
Yeah. I think I use it
My
once a week.
mom, you, and then like a couple of the kids. My mom loves that thing too. It's great.
Dude, me and your mom should hang out, go bowling.
Yeah. So we'll do it on the edge of the thing, so it's heel floating, and I'll do
Yeah.
is there trying to get full range of motion. I have like, if I were to do it, I just don't like the fact that there's balance required for the barbell. I'd rather just
Right.
get this kid to do it heavy.
Yeah.
This particular set of 15 to 20 reps that we do once a week, I want him just to do them heavy as possible. And then
Yeah.
all the other balance work will be done with his pogos, and then the depth drops and all of that stuff will be the coordinated component of absorbing
Yeah.
force in the calf.
Yeah. I don't think you need to intermingle coordination and heavy,
Yeah.
especially early in training him. So I don't know that ever, frankly.
Yeah.
So
And
cool.
and we got to like build to heavy though, because again, I don't want him to be sore, and especially in the calf, like that's going to get sore so quickly. So
Yes.
low volume, don't worry about anything but just moving the weight properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Cool.
now,
So that's a good Monday.
yeah. So then Tuesday, Thursday, he does his thing. We've added in some of those ankle pops just in his warm up. Or I'm sorry, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm not adding anything to it. Friday, we'll get speed work in before his game. So he does his full warm up. And then I tell him, like, all right, if you have to, you got to practice the skill of the 5-10-5. So
Mhm.
do like that is going to be your transition from your warm up that you do for what you normally do. Do a couple 5-10-5s, practice the skill of it. It's going to be a little bit sub max because you're still practicing the skill of how to decelerate and change directions and move and accelerate
Yeah.
that position. Do, 2 on each side in each direction, and then go out and do a flat out 30 or 40 and a
Yeah.
couple 2 to 3 30s. And now that's like it's a primer. It's not going to fatigue him for the game. And he's going to be like, his CNS is just going to be jazzed, ready to go,
Yeah.
you know? So in the
Yeah.
situation. So I figured I was talking with Mark McLaughlin. Do you know who that is?
I
He,
don't
I,
know anybody.
uh, he's out in at Lake Oswego High School. Really,
Lake Oswego.
yeah, in Oregon.
Okay, I was gonna say that's not here. Okay.
Um, he's a fantastic strength conditioning coach. Um,
Yeah.
is very, very high on like what Randy Huntington does, what Dan Paff does, Ralph Holm. Um, so he's got a lot of great work. So I had called him because he's he uses or he does the strength conditioning for his the football program. They have a very good football program over there.
Okay.
Uh, but because I was concerned, I'm like, what am I going to do with the kid in season starting up a new program, a completely new thing? So that was one of the things that we talked about. My suggestion was, can I get him, if we can just sprinkle this stuff into the warmups, is that going to be a big enough stimulus? And again, and I think that over the course of the next 6 weeks of his season, that will be enough of a stimulus to at least progress us towards being prepped for a really aggressive 5-week training block or 6-week training block before his first college camp in
Yeah.
December after his season is up. So if
Yeah.
it's like mid-December and then the season ends like mid-November-ish, then at least
Yeah.
solid 4 weeks where we can be like, all right, let's ramp this intensity up for the next couple of weeks and let's really focus on targeting these two numbers.
Yeah.
And on Saturdays, I'm adding in a recovery lift for him. And Wednesdays and Saturdays are going to be when or Tuesdays and Saturdays. Tuesdays they do like an upper body lift where
Hmm.
so I'm adding in that work on his back so that we can start to develop a little bit more of his back, give him a little bit more thoracic range and mobility.
Yeah.
And then Saturdays will be like a hypertrophy kind of lift, like
Sure.
what a Bush Exnator would do on a post game, like the
Yeah,
next
like bodybuilding.
bodybuilding stuff.
Yeah.
Guy like you could be he's like he ran the tested his 40 and it was right around 5 flat 5-1 and that was mid workout you know in flats on a in an alley. So I think a kid that is
You
currently
so you tested that?
yeah
So that's like a 4.4 at a combine.
obviously.
When the stopwatch
Yeah,
waits
yeah,
until
yeah,
you're
yeah.
5 meters in. Yeah.
So I think that he's ready to go sub 5, and
Yeah.
we spend the next 10 weeks with a little bit of bodybuilding and the kid gets up to 230,
Yeah. Yeah.
32. It's not unrealistic to think he could put 5 pounds of muscle on in a 2 month span from some added bodybuilding uh for a
As a
step,
high schooler? Yeah.
right? So
You're
now
undershooting,
yeah,
man.
he's in at 230, which is a very different number than 225.
Yeah.
And people are going to start to look at him a little bit differently too. Well,
Yeah.
he's running sub 5, he's 230 by April of next year when they have that like big college combine. I think it's April. It might be March. Um, but no, I know. I think something like that, somewhere around there. It's springtime.
Yeah.
Then the kid, I think he could be a consistent 4.8 kid and be at 240.
Right, right. Yeah, 4.8 at 240.
Yeah,
He could probably be a 4.7, a 4.6 at 225 or
yeah,
220.
yeah.
But yeah, 4.8 at
College work.
240. Yeah.
College get him to 4.7. I want him
Hmm.
to, a 4.8 at 240 is a
Yeah.
really dangerous prospect.
Yeah, with his height and reach and everything. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So
That's awesome, man.
that's my thoughts on him and what we're doing with him.
Yeah, that's great. I think that, yeah, you kind of that I think it was just this week. Uh Alta sent out the better better a mile under than an inch over.
Yeah,
And I'm like, yeah, that's where you have to live, I think, when you're training in season. Um,
100%.
and so that like steady, slow cook of 5, 10, 5s on game day and 40s on game day. Did he report back on those? Like, did he feel, was there any feeling different? Any noticeable, like, oh, I did it at a game and like, man, I felt really fired up, or I did it a game and I don't know, I
Um,
didn't notice anything.
oh no, because we haven't done it yet.
Oh, okay. So that
Last
starts
week,
probably this week.
so last week was our first week.
Got it. You're in
Monday,
week 2 now.
week 2 now, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So Monday we trained. Last Monday we did. I mean, it wasn't really much training last week. We did a little
Yeah,
work, but I just got baselines on him. Video
sure.
analysis. We did a lot of the baseline testing, the verts, the broad jumps, and all that. Then we
Okay.
did our baseline velocity testing. So I just wanted to
Mhm.
get a force velocity curve on him and a profile, see where he's at. But we didn't go super heavy. Again, he's in season. We didn't even get close to what a 3RM would be. But
Yeah, yeah.
we got close to like it was just a heavy 3.
Yeah, yeah. That's all you need.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, that I mean just a steady drip. That'll be for
Yeah.
a high schooler. I mean, that's all they need.
Yeah.
Um,
I think too.
yeah, that'll be good, man. That's awesome. So I'm interested to see, how does what I kind of wonder is how much of his knee and ankle stuff cleans up with addressing knee and ankle strength, or ankle strength specifically. Um, because that's going to be so interrelated, and
Yeah.
he's got to. Did you see when you did 5, 10, 5? Did you see a deficiency on his left versus right when he changed
Um,
directions? I don't know that. I wouldn't. I don't think I'd be able to see it, but
there was a lot in the five.
really,
Yeah. A lot in the
okay,
5 that needed to be addressed. I think that his um, limited ankle range holds him back from being able to decelerate properly. So
yeah,
he
that would make sense.
decelerate properly. I think that it's twofold. He's not strong enough to decelerate properly.
Yeah,
Eccentrically not strong enough to decelerate properly, and he doesn't have the hip, knee, and ankle range of motion or necessary. He might like test well on an FMS, but it's not functional because when he goes to do it at speed, it's like he just can't control it. You could tell
yeah,
he can't
yeah,
control deceleration, especially because being a tall guy, he's moving. It's like getting to the floor is so different for him. He doesn't
yeah.
decelerate properly. He doesn't understand how to turn, doesn't understand how to plant. He's like one of those toe planters
Yep.
rather than like a good solid full foot planter. And I think that's
Mhm.
because he doesn't have ankle range. So if he doesn't have the ankle range and he doesn't have the ability for that tib fib to kind of move and
Mhm.
allow that foot to kind of flatten out and then that hip to rotate and move and change directions, I don't
Yeah,
get the necessary shin angle to project into that next step. So it's more so like these big choppy steps and then like a turn and push
kind of
versus
like guarded.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
everything about it looks guarded. I hope
Gotcha.
I hope that with doing altitude drops, um, and then uh, some lateral, like we're gonna add in some lateral hopping,
Hmm.
um, like over a hurdle, little lateral hops, hop to change of directions, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
His body will start to give him a little bit more, feel a little bit safer.
Yeah.
But I just,
Man, I don't envy you having to train in multiple ranges directions. Like I'm like, we go this way,
yeah,
sometimes a left-hand turn, like for 5 steps, and we take off.
yeah. Even then, it's not even like a true turn. It's more of like a lean.
Yeah, you shouldn't be
Yeah,
turning. Yeah, it's so.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, man.
um,
If you
that's
have
wild.
let's say I'm gonna say this, if you have gotten this far into the video and you're just shredding us like this is nonsense, this is a bunch of bullshit you guys are talking, keep it to yourself.
I was gonna say commenting.
Oh
That's how
yeah,
you
the
get
comment.
traction.
Dude,
Outrage culture.
the people that are shredding us apart are already commenting like, "Oh, fuck these guys." This bullshit.
Not even your real name, I bet.
Yeah,
Stone, that's nope,
that's fake.
nope. That you're not real.
Yeah, your
Um,
shorts.
these are deep fakes, you're AI. Um, yeah, I that's fascinating to me. I just yeah, man, I get so itchy when it comes to like in season
Yeah.
changes. I think you're handling it really well. You know, I'd probably be cussing into a pillow every day, like, oh man. But yeah, I mean it all makes sense. It sounds really well thought out. I'm really curious to see how he adjusts.
Yeah.
Um, so
Like I often don't do for the track team, we'll test every 3 weeks, you know. But I think with this kid, I want to do various tests often.
yeah,
I'm gonna do them a lot more than I normally do with people. I'm
yeah,
only gonna see him probably once or twice a week at most. Um,
yeah.
be very interesting to do various tests more often to see where he's at.
Yeah, I think um something like this, I joke with my athletes like I don't need to see my seniors every day. I have watched thousands of reps
Yeah.
multiple times. Like, so when they show up and hit their warm ups, I'm like, I can tell right away. My freshmen, I tell them like, you got to be at practice every day because um, I don't know your movement signatures. I don't know your body language habits. I don't know this about you. Um, so to have a kid come in that you don't like know well, I feel like testing as often as possible, like, cool, where are we? Are we in the right spot? You know, is a test significantly lower? Is your body language different today? And you have kids that are just, if you watched my daughter play softball 14 times a week, um, some days she's gonna have terrible body language
Yeah.
prior to playing, and then she's gonna get there and she's gonna be fine. And I know that about her. And then I watch some of the other kids and I'm like, your body language is really bad and you're playing poorly. So they're interconnected. And
Mhm.
for you to take on a kid and not really know that, I think testing regularly is probably the right move. Because he could come in and be like, I broke up with my girlfriend. And I know guys who would do that, and I'd be like, cool, we're going hard today because you're gonna be ready. And
Yeah.
then there are guys that you're like, all right, we're gonna pat you on the back and take it easy, and without knowing who that kid is deep down inside, that's testing's probably the right move.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh man, that struck a nerve. Breaking up with your girlfriend, going on the track and just tearing shit up, man. That's
just
therapy.
hammer.
That's therapy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I always broke up with girls on Sundays because in college we had 500-meter hills on Mondays. And so
Yeah.
it's like, this is going to be effective. Like, I really need to maximize the workout. So I'm going to hang on until Sunday.
Yeah.
So, but
That's
yeah. Well,
awesome.
cool, man. This is going to be fun. So, what's a reasonable check-in time to like kind of see how he's doing?
Yeah, I think that I mean the 6 week marker is usually when we're going to start to see something. I usually see, we'll see a little bit of that beginner's luck effect for the first 3 weeks. Then there's going to be that lull that's going to take about 3 weeks to get out of. But this is so different because we're microdosing so much of it.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
not a lot of these big stimuluses that we're going to be hitting except for Mondays.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that within, by week 4 to 6, then we'll start to see some change, hopefully.
I,
So that's
I
when I'm
think I'll be really interested to also hear what is your testing indicating versus and I this is truly me, I'm ignorant about this and I don't know. What is your testing indicating is happening versus how does a football program modulate their in-season training stuff? Does that make sense? Like I don't know. Does a football team do they like change their lifting or does it stay the same the whole season? And so are you testing and seeing something and then also finding out like, oh yeah, we're in a part of the year where we just do um, you know, Taibo
yeah.
type workouts like Billy Blank's workouts and
So
um
it's interesting you say that because this next week they are in the pool for 2 weeks. So they're off lifting completely for 2 weeks. And then, which to me, I'm like, oh, this is great because now I
yeah,
hit him real hard for 2 days out of the week. And that's what
yeah,
I would ideally like. I don't think they need to lift every day.
yeah,
By no means. I think they need one power day and then
yeah,
one strength, more towards the strength side. And then the other days are all recovery lifts. So
yeah, yeah,
some upper body stuff, give the kids some bicep curls, get them a bicep pump, like that
yeah,
kind of stuff.
yeah,
I think they necessarily need to lift 2 days more than or at all 5 days a week. They don't need to do it. I think 2 days of pure power work and then a couple days of some hypertrophy stuff and bodybuilding to
yeah,
reduce them. But so I'm happy that they've got these 2 weeks that they're in the pool, which I'm not sure the philosophy behind it. I don't really know what's going on there. Um, and then leading into their playoffs, I think they're backing off big time on lift,
okay.
but
How
I
do you know
don't
how far we are from playoffs? I genuinely like I really don't know.
want to say that playoffs start in like 4 weeks.
Okay. So they're
Don't
gonna do like
don't quote me on
okay,
that.
okay. And so I think kind of I don't want to bash football. I really, really don't. I want to acknowledge there are really good coaches in football who are super smart, and there are coaches who aren't.
Yeah,
Um, and I think,
everything.
and I do, yeah, and I do feel like your school historically has pretty with it people like who kind of know what they're doing. I don't know that that's always the case. I know Mark Talbot too, so um, I'm clipping this and sending it to him now. Um, but I kind of wonder. I just don't know the culture, and
Yeah,
is there a culture of going into playoffs? Do we like go crazy? Do we back off? Do we, I really don't know. So I'm really interested to hear like how your testing lines up with what they may or may not be doing in the weight room
yeah,
because is what they're doing in the weight room like super useful? Is it pretty generic and just kind of like, which sometimes I think is the right thing, like just don't mess things up.
yeah.
Let them feel good, don't mess things up. And you're a high school kid, you're going to get better just through the sport and touching weights every now and then. So
I,
I'm really fascinated to hear that.
I would be shocked. So he told me his like 3 RM on a back squat is he went for 245, which surprised me.
Yeah.
45 is I at your size, I thought you were going to be somewhere in the threes, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
And then when I saw him squat, he's like, it's ass to grass squatting, which I'm fine with, but I don't think we need to do it in season. But I think also that has limited his ability to get strong. because he's
Yeah.
not able to truly do it properly.
Yeah.
A lot of rounding at his back. He doesn't have the necessary ankle control.
Yeah.
He has dysfunction in the right hip that so when he's coming out of his squat, he just can't control the right hip properly. And like when you watch the Chinese, there's that big debate when you watch the Chinese Olympic lifters and they allow their knees to dive in as a kind of springing action to come out of it. This is not.
Mhm.
This
This
is
is
left knee
involuntary.
in control, right knee is just all over the place.
Okay.
So now a kid like that, you're like, okay, limit his range of motion, only allow him to get to the point where he can control the hip and he's actually using his glute, then increase the range of motion. And in the meantime, you can keep him strong through those limited ranges of motion. So he's still getting stronger through certain ranges of motion and then increasing the range of motion at certain weights where he can control that knee or that hip.
Sure. Sure. Okay.
So I think those are all the limiting factors. So with just the squat pattern and just the deadlift patterns or the hinge patterns, I think he's going to see exponential growth with
Yeah.
what I'm going to do with him, just because of
Yeah.
the fact that he's going to have more awareness at different depths and ranges. And when he does that, his body will just start to be like, okay, here's
Yeah.
more ability. And
Yeah.
so I think that's going to be where we're going to see the biggest improvement is he's just going to be able to move more weight really fast. Not
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that velocity meter. But now, is that going to correlate to him being able to jump higher? Is that going to correlate to him running faster? I think without the weightlifting, I don't think that that's necessarily going to be the thing that's going to make him run faster. I think that
Mhm.
just simply getting a little bit more reactive strength and elastic strength in his calf, ankle, building some stiffness there is where he's going to see the biggest improvement over the next 6 weeks with that.
Yeah.
If they're doing their generic lifting, uh, and then they're not lifting for 2 weeks, I think over the next 2 weeks, he's going to see a big improvement because they're just not lifting. So he's not going to be as fatigued. So
Yeah.
it would be a nice thing. And then because they're going to be backing off their lifting, I think in general, he's going to see an increase in his output because everything is going to be targeted on pure output.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thing he's going to be doing in the weight room for 4 weeks is going to be like, all right, we are just putting out power. We're
Yeah.
just produce power and then microdosing in all of the reactive strength work that he needs to see the speed increases on the track or in his 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, man.
Awesome, man. Can't wait to see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'm
All
excited.
right. All right. Shred us in the comments. Let's
Please.
start a fight. Outrage culture. Click, click, click.